In the last training session, we took on the majority of tasks that you were able to do within the main HTML editor module of DNN. Within it, we talked about the ability to make edits and changes, to be able to work with links, to be able to work with pictures, and we kind of went back and forth with that set of items. There's plenty more that you can do inside of this manager, but we won't go through those in detail. I'll be glad to answer more questions or help you out more if you need. But many of these things are either self-evident or easy to understand once you play with them. One of the things that we did not talk about is version history. Once you've played around with making edits and changes and you've made several versions of your particular block of content, it's important to know that you build up a version history. This acts as a fail-safe so that you're able to go back to a previous version of content if you want to, but it also acts as reassurance so that when you are working on new content, you don't have to be afraid that you're going to make an edit and destroy something or get rid of it permanently. You must remember at all times that because you're in a DNN system, there are hosting backups of the database in the system. We have our own external backups many times. But in individual blocks of HTML content, you have the ability to roll back to a previous version anytime you want to. So when I click on the version history button at the bottom of the screen, some other versions have it as a link at the bottom, it shows me here that we have a record of 5 last saved versions of this document, or I'm sorry, this block of content. In this particular example, there's only one version of this block of content that has been saved. But if we go through and we make edits and changes in this version, and we begin making edits and changes, and perhaps we press save and we realize that we've messed up the content and we don't want to have that content in place any longer. Let's wait for this to save so it'll show us the screen. If we don't want that content in place any longer, or perhaps we have to go back and find out who was the last person who made an edit on a block of content, that can all be done through the version history on the particular page. We can see here that this is the edited version, and maybe we realize we need to reset back. So I'm going to go back in to click Edit Content. So go back to my editor view. And at this point, I can go into version history, and we can see that there was an original version and that there was a new version that was updated by my user. If I want to roll back to that previous version, I can click on the Recycle or Rollback button, and at that point, I've gone back to version number 1. Both are still saved. Both are still present. You can see who and what dates, but now there'll be a third version that is published and is live. So I hope, if nothing else, this helps remind you that you can jump in and make edits and changes without being worried that you're going to break something permanently. As long as you're making edits and changes and you roll back within 1 or 2 versions, you have 5 total versions of this block of content. Another block of content has its 5. So you have at least some control to roll back and or see who was the last person who made some edits on the page. Now, that section of version content really concludes the information about this particular editor window, because that was the full editor window that you get to when you go to the right pencil icon and you click Edit Content. Or in older versions of DNN, you might hover over the Manage button and it shows you Edit Content. Edit Content is your cue that you're going to edit something in the main HTML editor window. But there is a more simple way to browse around and make edits as well, and that is because every module in the site of these HTML modules has an ability to make an edit in a quick editor mode. And if you mouse over an area and you see a black pencil icon show up, that is allowing you to edit that block of content. So if we click on the pencil icon here, it will switch into a quick editor mode, which without any other content on screen, no other editors or pop-ups, you can see real-time on screen your particular content in the exact typeface and colors and in that spot on the page, and you can make edits right on the fly. I encourage people that this is useful for adding additional text, correcting typos, maybe adding new items to a bullet point list. If you want to do anything major, you'll want to do that in the normal full editor, like adding a picture or making complex links or doing more work within the code. From here, you can make any type of edit that you can do with a keyboard and your mouse clicking around. Notice that there is a quick editor toolbar that appears at the top, which allows you to save or cancel and back out of your edits. But from here you can do light style changes such as bold and italic. You can decide to center something or make bullet points. But notice that you cannot change the typeface, you cannot change the color, because this is a quick editor meant to change or edit the content that's already here versus adding a robust amount of new content. About the most complex thing you can do in this location is turn something into a new web link. For everything else more involved, you would obviously use the more full, complete editor, but knowing that this is here, it is a quick and easy way to browse around a page and make edits and changes without going into the full editor. With that, we finish this session, which is kind of the finish half of the HTML editor. Now that you know how to use these two particular items, your quick editor and your full HTML text content editor, we can move on to some of the other common items that are present inside of DNN. Once you know this HTML editor, you know 80 to 90% of every other module, every other tool that's out there that allows you to edit, because they all at their core, in one place or another, will have some content that shows up in that same HTML editor style. Thank you.